I feel very compelled after the events that took place this past week to speak on school shootings. Without a doubt, I think this past week as the school shooting in Noblesville took place, the issue which has been sweeping across our nation has come very close to home. I was actually assigned to St. Luke's Parish on 75th Street, and during my time there I knew many, many people from Noblesville. I want to make it very clear that what we hear on television, on the radio, and on the internet about school shootings is not the fullness of the truth. Again and again, surrounding school shootings, we are going to hear the topic of gun control and the secondary topic of mental health. And yet any of you, just like I did, can do the research, and there's plenty of research that have been done by very skilled and knowledgeable sociologists and psychologists on what are the common traits among school shooters. And I'd like to speak about some of them that will not be spoken about in the public arena. There was a study that was done on 31 school shooters that have brought about violence in schools between 1995 and 2015. Of those 31 school shooters, only 10 of them had diagnosable mental illness. And yet more than that came from broken families. But we can't talk about broken families in the media because everything in our media promotes the breakdown of the family. The promotion of infidelity and adultery, cohabitation. A society that promotes pornography ultimately promotes the breakdown of the family and the instability of marriage. Not to mention that we've redefined marriage, so we can't even talk about what a family actually is anymore. And yet every study will prove that when there is family breakdown, the effect is on the children. What we will also not hear about is the absolute role of a father in the life of their children. I'll read from one of the psychologists who spoke about this issue. Fathers are important role models for sons. They play a key role in helping to maintain authority and discipline in their homes. They help with self-control and feelings of empathy towards others. They are key character traits. They bring about key character traits that violent youth often lack. What happens when a world becomes fatherless? I think we can see what happens when a world becomes fatherless and the support of the family is no longer in the forefront. The second thing I'd like to speak about is that, if we look at this whole issue of school shootings, we've had schools and we've had guns forever. So what's happened in the past 20 to 30 years that have made school shootings so predominant? Besides the breakdown of the family, the utter rejection of organized religion, morality, and God. What happens when you reject the basic principle that we are created by a loving God who has an individual and unique plan for every single one of us? The disregard for human life. We as Catholics strongly profess that every human person is called to be loved and cherished from the moment of conception until what? Natural death. What happens when that voice isn't being heard? What happens when young people are being raised in a culture where they know that abortion is available to anyone? Now even in Ireland. When they know innately that if I can kill an innocent child, why can't I kill someone at school who bullies me? or makes fun of me. If I can kill the innocent, why can't I kill the perceived guilty? And yet when the role of religion, which brings about morality and faith, has been silenced and suppressed, where do we end up? Lastly, I'd like to talk about another issue that you will not hear on the mass media. There was another sociological study that was done by 31 of the shooters, and it talked about how 10 of them had mental illness, 10 of them grew up in homes where there was literally abuse in the home. But then there was one thing that was common among all 31 of these boys. And the one common thing is that they were publicly tagged as homosexuals, and were called terms as gay and faggot, crybaby. In a world where and there's studies on this, the perception among young people is that about 30% of our world identifies as homosexual. And yet the reality is there's never been a moment in the United States of America where it's been more than 1.7%. And yet when young people are receiving labels and tags that they take very offensively, they act out. The psychologist continues. All 31 shooters were made aware of their failings by their classmates of being masculine and having bravado. Thus, they used the most dramatic displays of masculinity and bravado to show and prove that they were tough and powerful. What happens in a world that is so overly sexualized that even the terms and the tags that are imposed upon young boys have them overcompensate in acts of violence? We also, I think, need to put school shootings in their proper context. And I don't say this at all to trivialize what's been going on. But did you know that the first recorded school shooting in America took place in 1840? And that between 1840 and the year 1900, there were 30 school shootings. Between 1900 and 1950, there were 72. That in 1960 alone, there were 19 school shootings. In 1970, there were 31. Between 1980, in the 1980s, there were 42. Then we begin to climb. Between 1990 and 1999, there were 63. In the year 1999 alone, there were 5, including Columbine. In the year 2000 to 2010, there were 57. Between 2010 and the present, 82. What can we do? We can promote the family. We can promote life and religion and values and the dignity of the human person. And we can help young men, particularly in their relationship with their father, to realize their dignity, their worth, their masculinity. And we can pray. We can pray for the conversion of those who have committed these crimes, the conversion of those who are planning crimes right now as we speak, the conversion of those who feel left out or mocked or neglected or isolated. And we can pray that someone will invite them to a relationship with Jesus Christ. Invite them to authentic community and relationship and invite them to find that life is good, that God is good. Through God's grace, may it be so, through God's grace, may we, convicted Christians, shed light upon this subject in a world which will not. And through God's grace, may we be great witnesses to that. God bless us and God bless America.